paint the fucking world.
Paint the fucking world.
The fucking world.
Paint the fucking world.
Paint the fucking world.
And paint the fucking world.
Paint the fucking world.
Paint the fucking world.
Paint the fucking world.
Welcome to Paint the Fucking World podcast, the podcast for artists by artists. My name is Visual Assault, and with me as always, my co-host NULLIN, and we are joined by Fina from Ruffled Feather Art. How are you this evening, Fina?
Good. Glad to be here.
Yes, we're happy to have you on here with us. I'm really excited to do this interview. You and I have been friends on TikTok for, I think, since I was first joined. So It's been like a year and a half or so. So we've been watching each other grow for a long time, and I gotta tell you, your artwork has just come so far lately, and I'm so impressed with what you're doing. So I'm really excited to dive into that. You are in Pennsylvania, correct?
Yes, sir. Central.
Did you guys get hit with the big snowstorm, or?
We barely got a foot.
Barely got a foot. Oh, so you kind of got out of it unscathed. Yes. It
was really cold, but we barely got a foot of snow. So everybody ran and scrambled to the grocery store for no reason.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you didn't get hit. I heard it was pretty bad in some areas, so
yeah, it was.
I'm glad you didn't get hit too hard. Now, I believe I remember you telling me that you are originally from Miami. Is that correct?
I was actually born right here in Lancaster, but I grew up in Miami.
Okay.
So technically I'm from Miami.
Okay. And how long did you live in Miami for?
About 10 years.
Okay. So you've been back in Lancaster for a good portion of your life, the majority of it.
I moved back here. I was about 19 when I moved back here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, Miami seems like such a big cultural hub for arts. When you lived down there, did you get to experience any of that?
None of it.
None
whatsoever.
Oh man.
I was in school, and just that's all it was. In school, barely any friends, and then I got pregnant with my kids, so. Gotcha.
Okay. I'm sure you're itching to go back and see some of the amazing artwork they have around there.
Oh, definitely.
And get away from the cold.
Just for a little bit.
Just for a little bit. Well, let's go ahead and get into this, a little bit about your artwork. The question I ask every artist is, most people say they've been creating since they were young. When did you start taking your artwork seriously?
Why do you do this to me? Well, I got with my husband about 14 years ago, and he's been slowly pushing me further and further into working into my art more and more. I'm sitting in the middle room of my house. So the living room is this way and the kitchen is this way, but still it doesn't matter. This is my studio.
Gotcha.
And it's all because of him, because he's been pushing me to do it more and more.
I'm glad he is.
The studio started getting slowly built little by little, maybe 6 years ago.
Okay.
And I've really been pushing and getting myself out there more and more since I got my TikTok.
Yeah, nice. TikTok seems to be a huge game changer for a lot of people. I know it was for me, like meeting all the amazing artists. I mean, all three of us met on TikTok.
Yep.
So, it's been one of this kind of a melting pot for us artists to kind of get together and meet one another and be inspired and push ourselves more and more.
Yep. So
TikTok's been a great catalyst for that.
Right before I got my TikTok, that's when I started my chalk art.
Okay.
And it was an escape because my mother was basically on her deathbed in my home. So just as a little escape from that, I was doing my chalk art right outside of my house. So I'd still be close within earshot in case she needed me. I'm right there.
Yeah.
But I got noticed by the city from that. And that's what actually got me to start doing more art. And that's why I got my TikTok and the whole nine. So technically, you could say I got serious with my artwork about a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen your chalk art. It's absolutely amazing. And I am extremely jealous because when I try to do anything with chalk, it literally looks like I'm a teacher in high school that can't write their name on the board. And yet you are able to create these amazing pieces. I mean, my fat ass is not getting down on the ground to make anything as far as chalk art goes.
I'm a big girl too, I'll tell you that.
But I mean, like, I just couldn't imagine like being down, hunched over, doing that for so long. Like, I'm kind of getting old, and my back just starts screaming at me even thinking about it. So,
trust me, I do it. Everything starts to hurt. I think about it a million times before I actually go and do a piece because my body wants to cry.
Yeah.
Before, during, and after. But yeah, it really takes a toll on the body.
Well, that, and like every time I've tried to do that, like, I don't know if it's because I have a heavy hand or whatnot, but my fingers get chewed up. And
So do mine.
You know, because I'm like scraping, and all of a sudden I get to the end of that chalk and I'm not realizing it, and I'm like, you know, and then I have road rash on the tips of my fingers, and it's just like,
yep.
No, that just does not sound fun to me.
When I first started, I have eczema in my hands, so that was really a big no-no for me with the chalk, but I still did it anyway. I'd get like really dry in between my fingers, and the tips of my fingers would start bleeding. And like you said, road rash, basically, I'd get that on all three of my main fingers from the dry chalk and from rubbing the chalk into the concrete so that way it doesn't come up as bad.
Well, yeah, and the whole blending process.
Oh, hell yeah. My husband got me a pair of gloves at his job that he can get from his vending machine at work.
Oh, there you go.
There are rubber tips on the bottoms of the fingers, and on the back it's cloth. So he got me those. I still chew through those gloves like nobody's business, but at least it's not as bad on my hands.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I admire your chalk art for sure.
Thank you.
But I don't envy the whole process at all. You can have that. You won't, no competition from me.
Dude, I've done it in the fucking scorching sun where it's hot as hell. My husband's actually stood outside and held an umbrella over me so I don't burn, because I'm stubborn with putting sunblock on. But yeah, my kids will come out and bring me cool drinks, and I just put my headphones on and I just work. And it all started because of COVID. It all started because of COVID, because I wanted to cheer people up.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's awesome. Yeah.
You would have loved El Paso. We have a I don't know if they still do it now, but every year they did a thing called Chalk the Block, where you'd go sign up. Our artists would go sign up, right? And you'd have like a slab, and it was a pretty good size slab of cement down in downtown El Paso. And you could do, whatever, as long as it was, I'm pretty sure there was like some family friendly rules and stuff, but I saw some really cool stuff, man. Perspective pieces.
I wish I could do that. I wish I could get to that point.
You will. You got it.
For sure. So my son just got for Christmas, he got a whole chalk set, a sidewalk chalk set. But his sidewalk chalk set, he actually has a holder for it. And I was like, oh, I actually might be able to try that. But he has this one that holds 6 different colors in it. So you can like rotate in between. And I was like,
yep.
Oh.
It's insane, the stuff that they've started coming out with for chalk.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I'd break it after, about 5 minutes because it's
no,
plastic.
you wouldn't.
But now, you did, I believe it was the Journey experience that you did some art for.
So I did this chalk piece. After my mom passed away, I decided to stop doing the chalk right outside of the house.
Uh-huh.
And I wanted to start doing it at the corner because we don't really have that much foot traffic in front of my house, but down at the corner we do. So I decided to start doing my artwork down there. And my son Caden started jumping in with me periodically. And we did this huge piece that was it was like a stained glass window with a rose on it, because where Lancaster is the red rose city.
Okay.
So we did a big red rose, and it just so happens that someone from the Lancaster City Coalition saw it, took a picture of it, posted it up on their site, and that got me the attention of a local theater. And the theater was going to put on a show that was going to be a mix between Queen and Journey.
Okay.
So they
Interesting.
came to me and they asked me if they could commission me to do a couple pieces around the city to help them promote their show. And that's what I did 8 pieces all over the city.
That's
Dope.
That's kind of awesome.
Yep.
I mean, that kind of puts you, well known within your city there on, this is the sidewalk chalk person. Might not be what you want to be known for, but
Yeah.
And to be able to help promote and create art around the city for that, I mean, that's so much more personal than let's say a flyer. I could design a flyer for something, and but that's that's just me sitting in front of my computer. This is you actually getting out, boots on the ground, for lack of a better term, and being able to
definitely.
Talk to people on the street while you're doing that. And at that point, you're almost like a spokesperson for it, because you're telling people what it's for as well as creating the artwork. So that's a really unique thing that you were able to do.
The first couple pieces I did, I actually did network just a tiny bit. I did meet other people that are artists around the city. There are other people that were like, hey, can we commission you for this, that, or the other? I actually had a stack of the flyers for the actual show to hand out to people when they would ask me what it was about. That was just my first, maybe 3 or 4 pieces. The rest of the pieces, I played Banksy. I did them at night when no one was out.
Nice.
One, because I didn't want to have to deal with people walking over my artwork while I'm working on it, which was driving me insane.
Yeah.
And 2, I didn't have to worry about the sun.
Yeah. Now, did you have to have a special permit when you were doing that?
No, I did not. But I did go ahead, and for most of them, I did them in front of businesses. So I did go into the business and I'd ask them, hey, I'm helping promote this show. Would it be okay if I come out and do a piece out on your sidewalk with chalk? And all 8 places that I asked, they all said, 7, because the first one, I didn't know who to talk to. But that was literally a public space. It's where there's our big fountain in the middle of the city where the crossroads are. I did that piece there, and a day or 2 later, the guys from the theater actually called me and they're like, hey, we're not, giving you a slap on the wrist or anything. We're just letting you know for later, if you decide to do anything else there. These people said they own that sidewalk. And you're not. And don't ever do a piece of artwork there again. And it's funny because I did that piece at night and it rained the next damn morning.
Oh no.
Oh, wow.
So that piece literally was not there even 12 hours. But they still called them and told them off.
And they owned the sidewalk.
Yep.
Okay, interesting.
That gets me, man. I'd understand if you're over there chalking up their wall made out of brick or whatever, and they come out, you're like, hey, I get it. What a sidewalk, dude! Come
I mean,
on.
technically, they can't own the sidewalk because I believe there's a every city has a leeway of 5 feet, which is
Yep.
usually the dimension of a sidewalk. So that's like countrywide that the city has that 5 feet in front of a business or a
Yep.
sidewalk there. So yeah, but that's a really cool experience you got to take part in. Like, I mean, I don't think I've ever had anything like that in my life personally that I've been able to say that I've done. So
That's
I'm envious
commissioned
of that.
anyway, right? Like
Yeah,
rebellious art. I don't know, but
yeah.
commissioned.
It's a little street art, you know.
Yep. I get
Heck
paid
yeah.
to do this. Yes.
Now, how has your art changed over time? I mean, you said like you just recently started doing the chalk art, which is new. But like, when you first started creating artwork, say, in your younger years, what were you drawing? Like, what were you drawn to create?
When I was a teenager, actually, what I was most interested in was landscape.
Oh,
You would look at my work now and not believe what I'm saying because it's just, I'm completely different from back then.
so
But yeah, I
you
used
were
to, yeah, I was a little Bob Ross baby. I used to love doing landscapes. I hate the mountains though. I don't like doing the mountains in the background. I leave the mountains out.
I feel like I'm the only one who's never done landscapes. Like, it's never been a thing that I've ever done. Like, I've done them, but it's never been like a period in my life where I did landscapes. It's just, I don't know. I didn't grow up watching Bob Ross. I knew Bob Ross. I had watched him a few times, but it wasn't something that I watched religiously.
It's the
I
same
mean,
for me, actually. I didn't grow up watching him. I only watched him a couple times, but I love scenery. I don't know why. It's calming, I guess.
I don't know. I mean, I guess growing up on the Oregon coast, that's all I saw was scenery.
Oh, that makes sense. I
You
grew up in the
know,
desert, man. Everything was brown.
You're a little sick of
Boring.
it.
We didn't
everything.
even have
Yeah.
cactuses. We didn't even have like cool plants. They all
I
look
mean,
dead.
I grew up like on a mountain, so I mean that's just like, and on the coast, I could throw a rock almost to the ocean.
Yeah, I guess that makes some sense. I mean, I was in the city in Miami. I guess I was, all city lights and everything, so I just wanted a calm place to look
Yeah,
at least.
I mean,
You
I
came
could walk
over here
out my
like,
door.
I want some trees. I just want to see some green.
I mean, I could walk out my door and walk across the street, and hike up the hill 30 feet, and I'm like in the mountains.
And
That's
you're
where.
lost in the woods
Damn.
I
instantly.
mean, I spent so much of my formative years in the woods playing paintball or riding dirt bikes. I mean, that's just where I was when I was younger.
That's
So I guess
crazy.
for me, that just, it wasn't something I was interested in. And everybody, the art in a town like that is all scenery based. It's all like,
Mm,
because people are painting what the tourists are going to want to buy.
yeah.
And I just, it's never been something for me. Like, I'm like, I want to paint hard rockers, I want to paint actors and musicians, and that's just never been my thing. So I
Yep.
guess maybe that's why. I don't know. Did I just come to a realization in my life? I don't know. Well, we already talked about your chalk art, so I'm just going to go ahead and bypass that. Now, with the journey experience, we were talking about music and things like that, but I know you're also a big music person. And how does music affect you and how you create?
I don't know. I could probably start with something simple, but all of a sudden it takes like a darker turn if I'm listening to something a little more melodic.
Sure.
I've always been the kind of person that whether I'm doing dishes, I'm sweeping, I'm at work, anywhere, I always have to, it's almost like knowing your exits. I always have to have my music with me. And I'm sorry, Chris. I don't know how you can do any artwork without any music going, and how it just does not impact you while you're working.
Yeah. That's funny. Chris commented on the last podcast. He's like, way to call me out.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and he's going to get called out every single episode, every time someone gets asked that question.
I think referencing back is always going to be a thing, though, because I'm pretty sure we'll have something about David, something about
Yep.
like Micah and stuff coming back just based on. But you're right. Unfortunately, this one's a pretty big, like, it's crazy because most of
Yep.
us creatives do feel some type of emotional connection to something when it comes to music.
Yep.
And fortunately, he's not the only one I've ever ran into that doesn't.
That's
But
crazy.
it still makes me go like, what do you mean? Like just having somebody openly admit to me saying, you know, oh yeah, I'm not really a fan of music. Like not of genres, okay? Just no, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of a music. I don't really. It's not my life.
Nope.
How?
I
Did,
can't.
Wow,
didn't you
crazy.
tell me that your significant other is like that, Marco?
To an extent, yes. So she does enjoy music and will utilize it. Definitely a lot of mainstream stuff. So anything on the radio, she's down with, right? But it's not just that. Like another thing that's I find very fascinating about them, about her, is that she's not really a movie person. She's not open about movies. Yeah. So like, and she is very okay. Now I want to ask you guys a question. How you guys feel about this, right? But she's very okay with starting a movie and not finishing it. Like just bolting like halfway through or something. I'm pretty
No.
sure people out there that are okay with that, but like it just trips me out. And
All
we
right,
have
No.
so
Nope.
I'm going to say this as a parent to a 3-year-old. There's a lot of times I get to start a movie and not finish it, and it's not by choice. But it might take me 3 or 4 days to finish that movie, but I will go back and finish that movie.
you know which movie I had to do that with? Have you guys ever seen Loving Van Gogh?
No.
I started it, but I didn't get to finish it because 3-year-old.
Exactly. Yeah, I started it and halfway through had to stop it and I had to watch it by myself the rest of the way. By the way, if any of you have not seen it, I highly recommend it. It's a very beautiful, artistic style the way they did that movie, and it's a
That's when
very
they painted
beautiful
everything,
story.
right?
Yes.
Every panel was painted.
Yeah, I think it was done how most of those movies are done. They film it and then they go over and like I don't know if they digitally paint over. I'm pretty sure they do because it doesn't really look
No,
like it's
bro, they painted that whole thing. I watched a
all
documentary
of it.
on it.
Oh, did you?
They took and they had like 150 artists at one time painting on the same size canvases, and they were all painting a different time, and then they get done, they start another one. It was
Wow.
crazy.
Are you serious? Like you're
Yeah.
not messing with me right now?
No, I'm 100% serious.
What? Wow. Like
Yeah.
that just blows my mind, to be completely honest, just because of
Well, and
how much
here's the
work
thing, though.
that's been
You
and how
know,
fluid they move. You know what I mean?
you could take all those pieces afterwards and sell them to fund your movie.
Is that what they did?
Wow.
I don't know, but that would
I've
be
never seen any
that
for
would be
sale.
the smartest thing to
Love
do.
the
But
That's
yeah,
crazy.
I was watching a small clip documentary that they had all these people painting. They had a whole room full of people. They had like a section. They have the same palette.
Yeah.
For everything, and then they had this like, this is what you're painting, like a kind of a makeshift picture of it, and then they would just go through and paint it, and then
So they painted each frame of that movie. Is what
each
you're telling
frame, yeah.
me. That is insane. Like a physical. Wow.
So
That's a
That's
lot of work,
amazing.
man.
yeah, I it's more dedication than I would put into something. I mean, I might be able to do one, but past that, I'm like, all right, you guys have fun. I'm out.
Right? It's like that's it. No way, a whole
A
movie.
movie he
And that
doesn't
movie
finish on
isn't
purpose.
short either. That movie's not short.
Yeah. You know, you said something about, you know, your significant other not like really paying attention to music so much or being able to walk away from a movie and not finish it. I wonder if that's a generational thing. Because the three of us are pretty close in age in a generation gap there. Where I think our generation is we hold on to like pop culture. Like that's a time in our life where it was happy.
Yep.
And I read this article that said like the people who were born in the 80s have a tendency to hold on to their past because it was a happier period in their time.
Oh yeah, I definitely do that.
So like, you know, I've started recollecting all the Ninja Turtles from when I was a kid, you know, and those kind of collectibles and things that brought me joy from when I was a kid. I have those now as an adult. And so I wonder if that's kind of a generational thing that the generation after us doesn't have that same nostalgia feel for things or connection to things that we do.
It could definitely be a possibility. I mean, everything that you said kind of makes sense psychologically, you know.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because Fina and I have talked about movies and music, and it's just like we could talk for hours.
Yep.
And where somebody who is a decade younger than us, it might be a very, very, very short conversation. Yeah.
My 15-year-old, I can barely get him to watch a movie with me. He'll watch anime all day, all night. Movie, forget it. My 23-year-old, on the other hand, he almost every time he calls me, that's all we do is talk about movies.
See, and my 16-year-old is like that with me. Like she'll call me, and that might be a little bit of her upbringing with her mom, but she'll call me and talk about movies because she knows that I am a movie person. So she'll call me and talk about those things. But yeah, I've just noticed, like, you know, like I collect movies. People are like, why do you collect them?
Yep.
You can just stream them. And I was like, well, you can't stream all of them.
Right.
Yep.
You know, there are movies that, you know, are out of print that you cannot find, that are not streaming anywhere.
That's
that
right.
I own. You know, this DVD right here that's been out of print for 20 years, that's a $150 DVD. You know?
Yep.
Yo, speaking of, did I ever tell you? I don't mean to get like off topic or anything, but we're talking about movies, and then you brought up the whole like this movie's been at a run and it's worth like so much money. Back home, we had like it was a store called Entertain Mart. It's basically like a FYE or something for used movies and video games and all that, right? So it's a huge place. It's not real small. So I used to go there all the time to just get random movies, kind of like a Blockbuster. You just go and rent a bunch, right? So that's what I would do. I'd basically use it as a Blockbuster. I'd go buy cheap movies, watch them, then go back and resell them there for credit, and then go and get some more, right?
Yeah.
So I had a Blu-ray version of Sid and Nancy that I bought at Target, and it was on sale at the time. I bought it for like, I don't know, $10. It was a special edition, blah, blah, blah. I didn't care. I was like, oh, I've never really seen this movie. I've always wanted to watch it. Okay, I bought it, right? Watched it. Super long movie. Love the Sex Pistols, but was like, okay, I understand why this was influential. All right, well, I'm done. I don't want it anymore. Went over to Entertain Mart to go sell it. And the dude just started telling me how like rare it is and how much money they were going to give me for it. And I was like, for real? And he's like, yeah. I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to sell it. And then he, you know, gives me the cash. I walk back down to Target because it wasn't that far away from the Entertain Mart. They still had some copies of it, bought 2 of them, went back to Entertain Mart, was like, hey, homie, I got 2 more copies of that movie you told me that was so rare or whatever. I ended up walking out with like $150. for 3 copies of that Sid and Nancy.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I will say this, though. I
Really?
kind of kicked myself. I should have kept one of them, even though I thought the flick was like, all right. Didn't really, but
Well,
I should have.
It would be rare at one point.
here's the thing: is I'm not a huge Sex Pistols fan, but I am a Gary Oldman fan.
Yes. Oh, so am I.
So,
Agreed.
and I don't get rid of movies. Like, that's just not something I do. That's like if you were to tell me you went and bought Ghostbusters and then watched it and then went and sold it back, I would smack you. Like, I would literally send a smack in a box up to Alaska and smack you because it's just not
Yo.
something you do.
I didn't have the space for all those. I agree with you, though.
I
But
don't
the
have the
collection
space
part
for
of
all those. I have boxes of DVDs and Blu-rays in my studio.
I really think you're right when it comes to the collection or the collecting, the nostalgia feel or whatever is something in our generation, because I don't know many people that'll do that anymore. I had a huge collection of movies. I had a huge collection of video games, huge collection of comic books. I had a collection of Converse, dude, before I moved up to Alaska.
Okay,
Converse, man. And I did have to sell a lot of it before I moved up here because I couldn't ship it. But the movies I kept were the ones that I knew, like, whether they're worth their money or not, I had to keep them. And they're kind of like lost gems in my opinion. Like, have you ever seen a movie called A Scanner Darkly with
I've heard of it.
Keanu Reeves?
Yep,
Same,
I've heard of it.
almost the same style as like Loving Van Gogh, only they,
Yep.
as far as I know, they painted it digitally, they recorded it, and it's super dark, tragic movie, awesome movie. But anyways, stuff like that. So I apologize, Tyler, for selling.
This brings up this does bring up an interesting point. I feel like all three of us do create artwork around pop culture stuff a lot too.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, I do, Fina does, Marco, you sometimes do, not all the time. I mean, just like I sometimes do, but like for the most part, a lot of my artwork recently has all been around pop culture or horror movies per se. But it's been like my focus for since I started taking art serious when I was in high school. I mean that I would always create pop culture stuff when I was younger. That's what I liked. I was painting musicians. I have portraits of Jim Morrison, Kurt Cobain, Jonathan Davis. I did all these portraits. I did a portrait of Alanis Morissette. I did a portrait of David Bowie when I was in high school. I mean, that's what I was painting then, because music was a huge part of my life. Because I was playing music then. I just taught myself how to play guitar, and I was playing in a band. So music was just very heavily influenced within my artwork. And then, the older I got, and the more into other things, I started branching out into more pop culture aspects. But that was always a big part of my artistic journey. But I feel like our generation does. I don't want to say we tend to more, but we tend to lean towards that a lot more than I think younger or older generations do.
Definitely.
I think it's changed. I think the name has changed because we call it pop art. We call it pop culture. I think the new age or the new generation's word for that is fan art. So it's not necessarily that it's not being done, and it's definitely a different style. I wouldn't consider it pop art, but what we do and the reason why we create that pop style or pop-esque and those pop icons, those pop figures, I think has changed. So there is a huge influx, especially in the anime community, right? There's a huge influx of fan-based and fan-made art, whether it's drawings, paintings, or anything of known characters, but also a lot of fanfic. Like, oh my God, there's libraries and libraries of digital fan fiction that people have written up, whether it's Doctor Who, old Doctor Who stuff, or recent things like Adventure Time or even Star Wars. I mean, look at the extended universe in Star Wars. That most of that was fan-based stuff, right? So I don't think it's that it's dead or they're not doing it. It's just it's definitely changed and evolved.
one of the things that I've noticed is like when it comes to like fan art, I see people taking aspects of that character and then creating their own rendition of it. Whereas myself, I'm going for likeness. I'm creating it so people look at that and be like, oh, that looks just like it. Fina, you do a lot of that same thing. You're not taking it and creating your own thing.
Yep.
So I think there's a difference between a pop culture artist and then a fan artist. Because a fan artist is, I guess, in a sense, they're putting more creativity into it, but I think they're taking like aspects of the anime style. So taking like Doctor Who and throwing it into anime style, or like Batman throwing it into anime style. I'm seeing more of those crossovers between like the different. Whereas I'm like, I don't do that. I go for I pick an image and kind of go for it, and that I like, and then I tweak it and make it my own, but at the same time really keep it close to what it was.
Yep.
I don't know. It's different. I think there's a difference between fan art and pop culture art, and then there's a big difference with pop art too. Pop art is kind of in a league of its own, more like that Andy Warhol, but like a pop culture artwork is what we tend to do, not necessarily fan art, I don't think. But I agree with you. It has shifted with this younger generation. With fan art, is they're creating their own unique style and blending it, like making, I don't know, a Doctor Who fucking Pokemon character. I don't know. I'm so out of the loop with these things. These kids and their Pokemon, get off my lawn! I'm getting old. But
this is why I said on the last one that I think I got the best of both worlds in my generation.
All right, so we talked about music influence you. What are some of your favorite bands to listen to while you're creating? Since we went off on a huge fucking tangent about artwork there, which is good, but we got completely off topic there.
Obviously.
Him. You're so
Slipknot.
emo.
Obviously, Slipknot. I die for Slipknot. Korn. I've been really big in Seether here recently.
Ooh,
again.
Seether was good back in the day.
I love Seether. I got to see them live a couple of years ago for my birthday. Yes, that was nice. And it was in our little local club here. So it was, maybe like 200 people at the most.
That's probably all that Seether can draw these days.
Yeah, you need to stop.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I like Seether, but when they're playing fairs, they're kind of past their prime.
There's Breaking Ben, obviously.
Sure.
Huge Breaking Ben fan, especially because they're local boys.
I didn't realize they were from PA.
Yeah, they're from Wilkes Bar, which isn't too far from here.
Wilkes Bar?
Wilkes Bar.
Oh, Wilkes Bar.
Gotcha. I mean, you're
Yeah,
basically talking about my senior year in high school. That's,
I was gonna say it sounds like more mid 2000s-y, like early 2000s, mid 2000s.
Well, I do. I mean,
that's when we graduated.
I do listen to older music as well. REO, Speedwagon, and Aerosmith, and shit like that. Like I listen to way back when, but not as much as I do to the stuff that I listened to when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
I did hear, I want to say within the past year or so, I did get into the habit of when I am working, especially by myself, when there's no one else in the house, or I'm up at 4:00 in the morning and I decide to start working on my painting or something and everyone's asleep, I'll put on creepypastas.
Oh,
okay. Now, I don't know much about that. It's a website, yeah?
Well, kind of.
What the fuck it is. I'm
No,
old,
no,
you
it's
guys.
cool. It's actually, I feel like you would get into it, Tyler. That's why I'm
Yeah,
surprised that you say you would.
you would love it.
Is it something I
Creepypasta,
can
Husband
man.
listen
Josh,
to on my Echo, or do I have to go look it on a computer? Or is it podcast? What is it?
wherever you want. Wherever you want. I started off with YouTube and
Yeah,
now
so
I
did I.
listen to it on my Spotify. You can
Okay.
find it on anything. They have
Creepy
podcasts
pasta.
as well.
Creepypastas.
I've
My
heard of it. I just don't know what it is.
my kids, my two older kids, they started up with it, I want to say about 6 years ago or so. They started up, oh, we're just listening to creepy pastas. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Creepy what? Well, my husband looked into it and he's like, yeah, those are what used to be called spaghetti westerns. They're just horror stories.
Oh, isn't that where what the thin or the tall man?
Yeah, Slenderman.
Yeah,
Slender man.
Slenderman.
Yeah.
That's what he is. He's a creepypasta.
So the funny story behind Slenderman is it started off as an edited photo. It was for a competition that I
Yeah.
think Photoshop was behind, and they kind of pulled it up. And correct me if I'm wrong, anyone out there. I think it was Photoshop, but the competition was, make a realistic looking creepy photo, right? And they did, the person or the people or whatever, the group behind the Slenderman photo, like that photo got such a huge following that it made a creepy pasta. They made a story behind who Slenderman was,
Yep.
what the entity did, like all that stuff, and it spanned video games, it spanned multiple stories, multiple videos.
A
Like you can
movie.
find fan-made movies
A
in
movie came
YouTube.
out.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, like an actual
Alright.
movie.
So I'm usually out in my studio at night.
Oh no.
It's dark, and I hear shit all the time while I'm out here.
He's out there, dude. Turn your light off.
So creepy
If it's
pasta
not
would be a
if it's not
daytime
Slenderman,
thing
you
for
probably
me.
have a cryptid out there.
Because I mean, I told you about the guy that was hiding underneath my window because he tried breaking into a house a couple doors down from me, and I could hear him breathing. And it was 4 o'clock in the morning. So
Yo, what?
yeah, this shit was crazy. Like I had no clue that somebody tried to break into my neighbor's house 2 doors down. But I'm out in my studio working at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I have my roll door open, and I see cops drive up and down my street, which is super weird. And I hear heavy breathing. I turned my music down, and I pointed my light out the door, and it went away. And I don't know if he jumped my fence or went through my fence and like jumped the other fence or whatnot, but they never caught the dude.
That's
But so
crazy.
I'm always a little on edge when I'm out here now because of that. Like if I hear a fucking mouse somewhere, I'm like on edge. My dog was out here and a rat was running through. I don't have any rats in my garage anymore, and I think it's my dog, but like fuck, almost knocked all my paintings down, and it was like they were going at it. But
Wow.
yeah, it's crazy shit.
But
And
yes,
I live in a pretty safe neighborhood.
that's
Like,
what
I didn't lock my-
creepypastas are.
I didn't lock
You'll
my
see me
door.
sitting here. You'll see me sitting here at 4 o'clock in the morning, wake up, can't sleep, and I'll come down. I'll just sit at my easel or at my desk, just put my headphones in and just listen to horror stories at 4 o'clock in the morning.
See, I used to listen to a lot of true crime podcasts. After that, I couldn't listen to them out here while I was working anymore. Like it just
And that's crazy because that's just literally someone just telling a story of something that happened. I mean, not to discredit that, obviously, it's something that happened, so it could happen again. So of
Yeah.
course you're gonna be scared of that. But when you're listening to a creepypasta, like at least the guy I listen to, his name is Mr. Creepypasta. He's like the biggest name out
Oh,
there
okay.
in he's the one that reads them. So it's like his voice is phenomenal. And they'll just put very slight little like background noises in there, and
Bastard.
he'll change his
The
voice.
worst.
Yeah, he'll change his voice and things like that. He puts so much inflection behind it. It's phenomenal. It'll scare the hell out of you.
I don't know. I've been told that my voice sounds like velvet covered gravel.
Velvet gravel.
So maybe I should join Creepypasta. I could go as Big Posty.
Big Posty. Do it, man.
You'll be
No.
happy pasta.
So besides music, what are some other things that inspire you? Like what are things in your life that inspire you? Like what are some of your favorite artists and things like that?
Favorite artist, I will say, is Sean Koss.
Sean Koss.
I have his artwork literally right there.
Gotcha. Okay.
And right there, this one.
You told me about him.
He is from Ohio, and he is the guy. You might have heard of him actually. He's the guy that did I think he did it 2 years in a row. I'm not sure if he's done a third one. He did the different mental illnesses. That's what both of my pieces are back there. I have bipolar disorder actually right in front of me. Anxiety and generalized depression. Like, he's given these disorders basically a face.
That's really interesting.
His work is phenomenal. It's amazing. He does other things, but he's done two sets of that.
Okay.
I mean, he did recently here, I guess last year, he did a Zodiac series.
Wow.
He does a bunch of other stuff. He actually did, now that I remember, he actually did Seether's second to last cover.
Okay.
Oh, that makes sense. I'm looking at his art right now, and it makes sense.
It has like the red rabbit on it with like a scissor in his hand or whatever. Like, he's the one that drew that.
That's awesome. I'd
He's a
love to be able
artist.
to do an album cover for a band, but I know that they don't pay anything hardly at all, if at all, for album art anymore. It's more of a you get recognition thing for it, if that.
Yeah.
But no, we've talked about him, and you've showed me his work, but I haven't actually had a chance to look his work up. But I definitely want to check it out because it sounds extremely interesting.
Yeah, his art is very nice. You like it, Marco?
So
yeah.
We're gonna get into since you're being featured in the Halloween, we're gonna talk horror now. Getting back to us pop culture nuts and talking horror. I know you're a horror Halloween fan, so I'm not even gonna ask you if you are. But what are some of your favorite horror Halloween movies?
I guess it's all just the usual, obviously. Halloween. I love the Halloween series.
What's your favorite in the Halloween series? I mean, are you going the OG from what, 78?
Yeah, the first original is my favorite.
Because I feel like that one is the scariest of them all.
Yeah. Yep.
Because the way that who directed that? I can't remember who it was.
Mustafa Akkad.
Huh?
Mustafa Akkad.
Directed that?
I believe so.
The original Halloween?
Yeah.
Not Wes Craven. What's the other one? No. Who is it? I can't remember. Anyways, the way they portrayed that, like with the glimpses of Michael behind the clothesline, or that was scary. There was a an actual fear that they were able to evoke in that, which horror movies today just don't have.
Nope.
They go straight for the jugular right out the gate. There's no build up to it.
There's
John Carpenter,
one movie-
1978.
John Carpenter, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, John Carpenter.
Yeah,
there's one movie that's one of my favorites that I do feel it does do that. It builds it up. It doesn't just throw it at you. And that's Trick or Treat.
Is that
I love Trick or Treat.
that's a little dude, right? With like the potato sack looking thing on his head.
Yeah. That one, it's the fact that it's an anthology and it does like all those different stories, but they're all intertwined with each other. It gives you that build up.
That's cool.
I think with the original Halloween movie, much like Jaws, how they used certain, we're going to go back to music here, and how like they use the da 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 da, or he would do I can't remember the exact little thing, but they would use that to introduce that character onto the scene.
Correct.
And build up anticipation, because you don't know exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And Alfred Hitchcock was really the one who did that with the falsettos in Psycho. So he kind of revolutionized that fear factor to build suspense, and that's what, like, movies or horror movies to me, like, wouldn't be near as successful if it wasn't with the score and how it was the music was used within the movie.
I agree.
I feel like movies in general, though, but horror movies need it to be good.
Yep.
Well, I haven't watched A Quiet Place, but
that's a monster movie, though.
It is, but there's an element. It's like so a creature feature is still considered a horror movie.
Yeah.
I don't know if they used music throughout that at all, because of how, like, the aesthetic of that movie.
I believe they didn't. I remember watching it. If I remember correctly, they did not have any music in that movie.
Yeah, I don't know what this says about the movie. I enjoyed it, but you're right. I don't actually remember if they did or not.
Nope.
I thought it was a great flick, though. I didn't see the sequel.
Nope, I haven't watched it either.
Yeah.
I mean, they kind of went all out for the title on the sequel, A Quiet Place 2.
Yeah.
They really put a lot of thought into that.
A Quiet Place again.
It's
I don't
still
know,
quiet.
A Quiet Place
We
to
should have
Sleep.
just named it. It's still quiet.
It's still quiet.
I like that better. It's still quiet.
It's still
What was
quiet.
that movie that Jordan Peele did with the was it Don't Breathe?
That sounds familiar.
Where the guy who was blind, or
Yeah, the old man that's blind.
yeah.
I never saw that, but I know what you're.
That movie is sick. Well, not the movie, but oh my god.
I think
That is a
Jordan
good
Peele.
movie, though.
I think Jordan Peele is actually really taking horror to a whole new level with this generation.
He really is. I feel like he's pulling it back.
Yeah, he's taking elements from that worked from history and incorporating with new things, and he's kind of taking, yes, some of these stories are the same as what we've seen in past and with other storylines, but he's basically reinventing them, kind of like how an author will sometimes take a story that's done before but take it in a different direction. Like Neil Gaiman did that with the Graveyard Book. It's essentially the Jungle Book, but all set in a graveyard, which it was fantastic. It was really well written, and I really loved the book. But when somebody's like, oh, it's just the Jungle Book, it was like the glass ceiling just shattered around me, because I was like, what the fuck? You're right. It's exactly what it is. It's the Jungle Book. You have
Mhm.
Bagheera. You have Mowgli. I mean, you have everybody in there. They're just named things, and they're all ghosts for one human being. I mean, it was
Now I
so.
want to read that now. Now I want to read
It's a
that.
really good book.
I'm gonna have to get
Um,
for that. I'll save it later.
but for an author to be able to take a story that's already been played out and redo it and do something completely different, I think is always fascinating. So I think what Jordan Peele is doing is he is he's stepping it up. He's saying, okay, guys, well, enough with the saws, enough with the
Yep.
hostile. Let's take the blood
Mhm.
and gore out of this and actually
Yeah.
bring in true horror.
I'm a huge Saw fan.
Story. I like story.
I'm a
Yeah,
huge Saw
And
fan.
surprise.
Just those
But the first
traps are
Saw,
amazing.
the first Saw is like a masterpiece in my
Traps are
opinion. Just because,
terrifying.
well, the first one, I guess it was like minimal, and I think that's what I liked about it. It was definitely not that bloody, but that ending, man. And like I told you before, I'm usually really good about predicting things because I was so, especially at the time, I watched movies like crazy. So being able to predict stuff, and then that movie just came and was like, "Ha ha ha! Fuck you! You thought you knew," and I'm like, it just blew my mind.
Mhm.
The second one where she falls into a hole with hypodermic needles.
Mhm.
That's wow. Like, yeah.
Nope. I mean, I finished it. I think that, we're talking about finishing movies. I think Candyman would be that movie for me that I never finished.
Oh, that makes, yeah, I know why though. I mean,
We're talking
oh my
31 years later. I haven't
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
back
We
and
were
finished it.
Marco missed it the other night at Discord though. We were talking about Candyman in there. Was it Carrie? Carrie actually started saying it and Tyler just left.
Yeah, I bounced. She
He
was
left the
she was
Discord.
in 3 times. I wasn't letting her get to 5.
He disappeared. He came back like 2 minutes later. He's like, "Are you done now?"
Started it again, and I bounced again.
It's crazy. It's crazy how that happens, man. Like I totally understand that. I don't know if I have I don't know. I'm pretty sure there is, and I probably don't advertise it, so as that not to happen. But yeah, it's I'm really sorry.
It's kind of like, it's like the game Bloody Mary.
Right.
It's like, no, I'm not playing with that. I'm not going down that road.
I actually had a homie that had all of his mirrors covered because he swore up and down to me that he actually did see something. So every mirror was either covered or facing a different way
That's crazy.
in
I
his
mean,
house. Yeah.
was he on shrooms or?
No, he was like actually one of the most like anti-drug people I know.
You're
But
straight
he
edge.
did, yeah, I was like, I go to his
Oh.
house. I was like, hey, bro, what's up with the towel on the thing? And he told me, he's
Was
like,
he
oh,
wearing a tinfoil hat? No tinfoil hat?
I mean, I haven't talked to the guy in years, but still, it's like when I knew him.
So, what is your favorite genre of horror movie?
Oh, I want to say slasher.
Slasher.
Yeah, definitely.
So, were you excited for the new Scream movie then?
I was until something got spoiled for me. Now I don't want to watch it.
I haven't. I watched the original Scream. I don't know if I watched any of the other ones. I wasn't a huge Scream fan. I guess when I think of slasher, I think of 80s, like late 70s, late 70s to the 80s slasher movies.
Yep.
So having a slasher flick in the 90s just seemed, I don't know, it wasn't the same. Yeah, I don't know.
No, now that I think about it, I think I know. Wow. I just had a moment of realization.
Oh, do tell.
Oh my God. I'm here thinking back to, I'm like, you know what? It's just something that was basically passed down for me. Like my mom was always a huge horror movie fan.
Oh.
And she was the one that told me that you know, what my first horror movie was when I was 3. And I'm thinking back on it just now. I'm like, wait a minute, that was a slasher.
What was that first horror movie you got to watch?
So when I was 3, I would sit on the couch and I'd put this movie in the cassette player in the VCR. I'd put it in, go sit on the couch, watch the entire movie, jump back off the couch, run over, hit rewind, stand there and wait, hit play, run back, and I'd just do that.
Wow.
And it was called Pieces.
Pieces.
I have never heard of this movie.
I gotta look it up. What year?
But
Oh my god! I think it was
1982.
I think it was 82. Yeah, because I think it was it was released the year that I was born.
That's just terrifying.
Jean
so much. At 3 years old.
Does that sound right? Jean Piquet Simmons, the director.
Yes. Yep.
Interesting. Pieces. Interesting.
It's exactly what you think it is. That's like the catch line of the movie. It says pieces.
That's
exactly.
God, that was perfect. Well,
yeah, it's a really good. I watched it again later in life, and it hasn't aged really well at all, but it's a good movie though. It is. It really is.
It's got the main antagonist looks like the Shadow. It's got like that, like big brim hat with the mat. I don't know. I'm looking at it right now, and that's what it reminded me
of. Who is your favorite slasher? Is it Michael?
Michael.
Who's your favorite horror character of all time?
I don't know if I have a favorite. I just love it all so much.
Okay.
I mean, I'm literally wearing.
Is that a Freddy shirt?
Yeah.
I was going to ask if you were a big Freddy fan. What's your favorite piece of artwork that you've created of a slasher?
See, now I did Freddy, but I don't like the way that painting turned out, so I want to redo it. But I think Freddy's the only actual slasher that I've done a painting or drawing of.
You did Michael.
I did. I'm really not happy with him. He doesn't count.
He doesn't count.
He doesn't count until I redo it. Well, he doesn't count until I redo it.
Your Sam is absolutely amazing too.
Thank you.
It's Sam from Trick or Treat. Am I getting that right?
Yes.
Sam Hayes.
Yep.
Yeah, because that piece was like when you first showed me that, I was like, "Holy fuck, that's amazing."
Yeah, that painting is what got us our first like real conversation, because you were trying to help me figure out how I can grow a pair to actually charge people what my stuff is worth.
Yes. Do you still have that painting?
Yeah, he's actually up here somewhere.
Good, because I remember you were gonna sell it for like $50, and I was like, wait, what?
Don't believe him, Marco. Don't believe him. He's lying.
No,
hey, don't feel bad. Me and him have already had this conversation over.
It was actually going to be $100, not $50. Yeah, it was going to be $100.
Well, whatever. It was way too low. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that piece. Yep, you got to actually look at the actual photo of it, because the background is really what makes it so much better.
Yeah, it's got a bunch of writing on it.
Yeah, I wrote his rules of Halloween as his background.
Yeah.
The painting I did of Freddy, the painting I did of Freddy, I did the little song on the background.
For you.
Yep. And Michael's, I did what Dr. Loomis says about him when he was a little boy, how he didn't see anything in his eyes and things like that. Like I wrote that behind him.
Yeah,
And
I love how you incorporate the typography into that. That's very iconic lines from the movie that you're incorporating into the artwork behind the actual character. I really, really love that aspect. I've seen a lot of people do it,
whenever I
but the way you're
finish,
doing it's great.
if I ever get to finish my Evil Ash, I'm going to put the old man's reading, his translation of the Book of the Dead or whatever it is that he's saying in the recording that they listen to. I'm going to put that in the back.
I think that you should put where he's talking about his double barrel shotgun. Shop smart, shop S smart.
Yep. Shop S smart.
Or you could just put, "Hey, she bitch." I mean,
yeah, that might work. That would be good. Yes, yes.
I don't know if Marco's ever watched Evil Dead or Army of Darkness, so
I have. I just don't remember much about it. It's very comedic, and I know
I'm looking for a new co-host.
Which is that? Wow, it's okay. I know he's been trying to get rid of me for some time now.
Bro, my son is named Ashton because I had to compromise because I wanted to name him Ash after Bruce Campbell's character, Ashley J. Williams.
I'm a huge Evil Dead fan. Evil Dead, Ash versus Evil Dead, all of it. I love it to pieces.
Yeah. I mean, it's such an iconic franchise. So get on it, Marco.
Actually, the soundtrack.
I played the game. I
actually listen to the soundtrack of Ash versus Evil Dead sometimes when I'm working.
Nice.
That makes sense.
Yes, yes.
I know I'd say watch it with Drusana, but she probably won't finish it. So
no, dude, I took her to go watch it. I think it was the first part of the recent It, and she was not having a good time, and I felt terrible. I was like, oh man. So when it came time to watch the second part, she definitely didn't come.
Wow.
That's a good segue into my next questions because this month's zine is all Stephen King, and you, of course, have created a single piece of Barlow from Salem's Lot. But I'd love to talk about Stephen King a bit with you because for me, like, it really kind of, my story about Candyman when I was a kid and how it really took me out of the horror genre for a long time. But when I got back into trying to dipping my toe, so to say, back into it, Stephen King was that catalyst for me. So I am a huge Stephen King fan, and I know you are as well. What is your favorite book by Stephen King? I may or may not have read it. I haven't worked through his entire catalog yet, but I'd love to know what your favorite book from him is, your favorite character, whatnot.
I will tell you now, it used to be Misery.
Okay. Annie Wilkes.
Yes. And once I read Dr. Sleep, that completely changed for me.
So did you like the book better than the movie?
What, for Dr. Sleep?
Yes.
I like the book better. I'm not saying the movie is not good, and they almost, because it was the same director team, brother and sister team that did the It movies. They're the same ones that did. Yeah, they're the same ones that did the Dr. Sleep movie, and it was almost to the T. It was amazing.
Nice.
So yeah, I like the book a little bit better because it had just a little bit more in there. Yeah,
I love the It movies that they recently put out. I thought they did a really great job with them. I think Bill Skarsgård did an amazing job as Pennywise. I'm a big a horror comedy fan. I like to laugh while I'm being scared. Of course,
you love you love the zombie comedies, huh?
Well, I love Deathgasm. I do love Shaun of the Dead, but I love Army of Darkness, Evil Dead, where there's slapstick comedy interjected in them. The It movies had a fair amount of comedy, and the kid who plays Richie Tozar, I can't remember for the life of me his name, but he's also in Stranger Things and in the new Ghostbusters.
Yep.
He really made that movie so much more than it was. Like he
Definitely.
elevated it to a whole new level. And in the second half, you know, they had what's his name playing Richie Tozar. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but it wasn't as good.
It wasn't Bill Hader, was it?
No, I
No.
think
But it wasn't as good as it. The comedic timing wasn't as quick. Who was it?
yeah, it was Bill Hader.
Yeah,
Bill
it was
Hader,
Bill
yeah.
Hader.
But you know, Bill Hader as a professional comedian, he it wasn't as good as I can't remember his name, but
The
I
kid?
thought he did. Yeah, the kid did such a good job.
Finn Wolfhard.
Finn, yeah,
Wolfhard?
Finn Wolfhard, yeah, he did such an amazing job with it. And I believe that Bill Hader was like handpicked by him to play Richie Tozar.
Yes, he was.
So I did. I like the original. Don't get me wrong. I love Tim Curry as Pennywise. It's such an iconic performance. But I tell you what, when you get into the second half of that miniseries, fucking bore me to tears. Like it was so long and drawn out. One question that I have been asking artists lately that I think is kind of fun. What book would you recommend to an artist that inspired you? It could be an actual like nonfiction or fiction. Doesn't necessarily have to be based around art. Like one book that I read was Art and Fear that really helped me, or like Steal Like an Artist is another book that I've really found useful. But do you have any books like that that have inspired you throughout your art career?
Not really.
Fair enough.
Not really. It's mostly my family.
Your family.
Yep. And now the PTFW. All of you guys help push me.
The PTFW has been a very inspiring place to sit down and hang out. I love seeing everybody creating artwork in there and seeing all the works in progress. It's been really great.
Yep.
So, what is your ultimate goal with your art career?
I don't know. Just make people happy. Create things that, you know, people can look at and actually get a smile on their face.
Love it. It's very simple. You're just wanting to create art and get it out there. And I always say you're leaving the world a more beautiful place than you found it with every piece of art you create. So that really stands true to that statement.
Yep.
In 10 years, where do you see yourself as an artist?
Well, probably further than I am now. Hopefully further than I am now.
That's the plan.
If my husband can help it, we'll be on a bus and I'll be creating my art on a bus.
Ooh.
Doing that whole the van life or bus life.
Yeah, he wants us to be schoolies.
I can see you going back to your landscapes at some point if you were on the bus, kind of painting some of the iconic places you've been in your own personal style. No?
Sure, I could do that. I could see myself sitting on top of the bus with my easel and probably painting up there, but I'll be painting like, you know, horror movie characters. Hey, I could paint them in the landscape. I could just do that.
Hey, there you go. That's the way to do it. It's almost
like how people have started buying like old school paintings at like thrift stores and stuff. And they'll put like, you know, horror characters in there or something, but I'll actually paint the actual scenery myself.
I think that might be a good TikTok series where you paint these nice, beautiful landscapes and share them. And then the next video, you do a time lapse of you painting it. And the next video, it's you putting a horror character in it. And people are like, what the fuck? Why'd you do that? Because you know that people are going to do that. You know that's going to happen.
I remember you guys. I think it was Marco that mentioned Jazza in the one of the last episodes
Yeah.
of the podcast. Yeah, Jazza did that. He actually went out and bought a painting from a thrift store, and I think he put like a kraken coming out of the water.
Yeah, if it's
that
the one I'm thinking of, he did a couple, and that one's probably my favorite. What he tried to do was mimic the art style of the original piece.
Yep.
That was part of the challenge, right? But he wanted to do something crazy, and it was a really nice aquatic piece. It got a bunch of boats in there, right, in the water or whatever. And he drew a kraken like coming out of the water. So you just see the tentacles and stuff just like wrapping around the boat.
Taking one of the boats. Yep.
Yeah, it was good.
I think he did another one recently where he did like a sleeping dragon or something like that, and like a little adventure or whatever staring up at him. But he does do that. He does try to mimic their art style.
I'm gonna have to watch these.
Yeah,
I like Jazza. I haven't. I'm not as familiar with his work. I have seen it. There was a big collab that went around with a bunch of YouTubers. Him and Tin Hun. That's how I was introduced to Jazza. Was from that, because I actually follow Smo Nova and Slew and Tin Hun. So all those artists, I kind of found through that chain, which was really cool. I think that was a really unique way to cross-pollinate between their audiences, but also create a really amazing piece of artwork. And I'm really hoping that's what happens with the piece that we have going on right now.
Same.
But yeah, there's a lot of amazing artists out there that I haven't discovered, but that I'm itching to find. Who would be your favorite YouTube artist that you've ever found?
Who, mine?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go with Jazza because he was the first YouTube artist that I actually really started watching. He's the first one I subscribed to.
Nice.
So I found an artist about a decade ago. His name is Stephen Quick, and it's Splintered Studios is the name of his studio, I guess. But he's out of the UK, and he's a pop artist, and I absolutely love his work. He's so inspiring to me. Like, I did a portrait of him recently when I did a whole series of artists that inspire me. And he actually commented and told me that he's like, man, this is really awesome. He's not huge by any stretch of the means. Like, I think he has like 10, 15,000 followers on YouTube, but and he always has responded back like when I commented on something. But he's recently started going through and painting the toys from his childhood. So he did like He-Man, and he did Raphael, and he also did the Kenner version of the Star Wars toys that he had. So like he did Luke Skywalker, and like his process is really awesome the way he does it. So if you don't know who Stephen Quick is, I definitely suggest going and finding him because he's a phenomenal artist. But he very much pop culture based pop artist. So yeah, he's one of my favorite artists. I know, Marco, you're a big Tin Hun fan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely really into his style. I love his just like his ability, his uniqueness and his character creation and stuff, and like his voice is also so soothing, like his videos are so he draws me in, man, and he keeps my attention, that voice, his art style, his stories, like everything that he does. And I kind of find it really interesting how those art YouTubers tend to do that stuff with different techniques. Like Tin Hun has that, at least for me. Jazza has his quirkiness and his energy, his loudness. He's like, when it comes to personality in terms of YouTuber persona, like Tin Hun and Jazza are exact opposites, man. Tin Hun is like real nice, slow, mellow, good toning. His voice is real like, soothing sounding, right? And you listen to him. But Jazza's like super crazy, energetic, like just chaos all the time, and just tries a bunch of new stuff, but also
everything. That's one of the things that
Yup.
drew me to him is he'll try everything.
Everything. He's like, oh, I've never tried that. Let's do a video like that.
Yeah.
That collab that you were talking about. The balls that he had. He's like, oh, I've never tried this medium. Let's just try it on this collab. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Dude? Like, what are you doing?
He so much as went and didn't he tattoo somebody?
I wouldn't doubt it. I don't think I've seen that one. But
yeah,
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, he even like tattooed someone. He got the tattoo artist that was showing him how to do it, and the dude tattooed a smiley face onto the bottom side of his toe.
That's hilarious.
Like, yeah. The one thing I am excited, I'd love to see him try, which I think I've commented on his videos before because obviously I've done it and I did it professionally. I want him to decorate a cake.
Oh my God. I can't believe he hasn't done that yet.
That's a whole new level of artistic challenges. You know, you're working in more of a 3D form when you do a decorating cake. I mean, of course, you could always print it out on the, and just put it on top of the cake.
The edible fondant paper. Yeah, that's cheating.
If there's one thing I learned how to do in college, it was to cheat. I perfected it. I was very good.
I think that's a good mini-sode conversation there, Tyler. What's considered cheating when it comes to art?
Mm-hmm.
There is no cheating in art.
Well, we're gonna have a discussion about it.
Okay, well let's put it this way. What's that whole thing? Learn the rules so you can break them. So there is no cheating in art. You do it the way you want to fucking do it. That's it.
Stay rebellious, like that's.
Stay rebellious. All right, I have 3 more questions. What is some advice you would give to your younger self about art?
Stop fighting back and listen.
Oh, that's such a good piece of advice. Listening. I was thinking about this earlier. To younger artists that I've been speaking to, but I just want to say, listen to these artists that are telling you like all these things. Just take that and absorb it. You don't necessarily have to use it, but take it and absorb it and use it when you can, or glean that information off of it and appropriate it into what you're doing. And so many artists are stubborn. They don't want to listen. Yep. So that's a great piece of advice.
I have a couple of young artists around me, and a lot of them, they just keep seeing my artwork and, oh my God, your art is so good and you're so good at it. Your art is amazing. I wish I could do that. I know it's been said to death, but practice.
Yeah.
Practice. And I know that me saying practice goes in one ear and out the other because I did it. So if I tell myself, my younger self, hey, just listen.
Yeah. No, I think listening is key. Like, I mean, listening it can mean a whole slew of different things because, I listen to art podcasts as well. Like, and there's a lot of information that I glean just by listening to those artists talk.
Yep.
I'm able to pick and pull information from them to use business wise or techniques that I may want to try. So I the older I get, the more I stop and listen to what anybody has to say about art because it's a numbers game. The more information you know, the better off you're going to be. So
everybody makes fun of me. Everyone makes fun of me when I'm sitting in the Discord. I have myself muted, and you can vouch for that, Tyler.
You do.
I'll just sit there quiet. I'm doing my work, and I'm just listening to everybody else. Well, whether you guys are, messing around or actually talking business, like I'm still sitting here listening to everything everybody's saying.
Knowledge I feel like you're sitting there going, these fucking people are nuts. That's what I feel like you're thinking when you're sitting there listening.
Yeah, most
These
of the
people
time,
are
yes.
fucking crazy. Because that's what
Yeah.
I'm thinking half the
She's
time.
taking notes, man. She's like, "Oh, this will work later." Oh, yeah, no, that's good information. Keep going.
Note to
Oh.
Yep.
self: never associate with this person.
She's
Hmm.
got dirt on all of us, is what she's saying.
I feel like we covered the second question there with your last answer. So I'm gonna just close it out with where can people find you?
Instagram,
Under
Ruffled Feather Art.
uh-huh.
TikTok, Ruffled Feather Art. And I have my shop that's going to be opening up here soon on the web. So I will put news of that up on my Instagram as soon as it's all set up.
Perfect. Is that gonna be under Ruffled Feather Art as well, or
Yes,
like .com or?
I believe so. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Fina, it has been an absolute pleasure chatting with you this evening. It always is good catching up with you and talking arts. I feel like we get to talk more about art now than we normally do with the slew of other people. So it's been great to actually sit here and the three of us kind of just talk about it. So thank you again for hanging out, and I cannot wait to see what you do for the zine. Fina will be featured in this month's zine. It's all Stephen King. So if you want to see what she's drawn, you're gonna have to buy the zine.
Do it
But I'm gonna leave you with a paint the fucking world.
and stay rebellious, guys.